All right, welcome back to our lovely toilet training mini unit for the week. So yesterday we read the introduction to the toilet training essay, and I prompted you guys to go into assessments and answer some questions about the first three elements of an argument that we learned about. So I asked you to tell me what the audience was, so who Dakota was writing to solve this problem. I asked you to tell me what the issue at hand was, so what is the topic of the essay? And then I asked you to tell me what the argument was that she actually posed, so what she wanted her audience to do or change to solve this problem. And I also asked you to look for some words or phrases from the text that indicated that those answers were correct. So for the audience, I will tell you that right away, when she says, we seventh graders, that should be your first hint. She says, I try to avoid going into that restroom because it's so awful, but that's the restroom that we seventh graders are supposed to use. Right there, that's a little signal that Dakota is talking to her peers. She's not talking to the principal saying, hey, principal, clean up your act, get some better janitors. No, no, no. She's not talking to the staff. She's saying we seventh graders need to band together. So right away, we know who she is writing to, or at least talking to in the essay, since her essay isn't really written as a letter. The next thing we're going to look for, or that you guys looked for, was the topic or the issue of the essay. You get that in pretty much the first couple of sentences here. Every day I walk into the first floor restroom by the office and I can't believe the mess. Boom. There is a mess in the bathroom and it's ridiculous. It's essentially the issue. So I would say the issue is anywhere from messy bathrooms to the seventh grade bathroom is a mess. You can get as specific as you want as long as you're not digging into the actual argument part of it. So the issue is just what the essay is about. Then when we get into argument, I'll show you right where that is found here. Oh, come on. My slides are frozen. This happens every so often. All right. There we go. So I underlined it here just because when you're looking for an argument, it is going to be a very specific part of that first paragraph that is the thesis statement. And when you write your essay, you're going to have a very clear thesis statement as well. So I want to make very clear exactly where that thesis statement happens. She gives us all this background information, and then she says, we need to do something about the restroom. All right, I would say that that is the argument. It's not very specific the way she phrases it here, but we can get that she is essentially telling these other seventh graders that we have got to clean up our act when it comes to keeping the bathrooms clean. And then she gives a little more detail. She says with a little bit of effort, we can all take better care of the bathroom, right? But I would say that that bossy statement that here's what we need to do or change is we need to do something about the restroom. All right, so moving on from yesterday's stuff, I hope that you got all of that when you went and did the assessment. If you didn't, that's okay. We're just doing practice here. The important part is that you know it now. So let's move along. Here is your new vocab for today. So yesterday we talked about that first paragraph and everything we learned there. Today we're moving on to paragraphs 2 and 3, which is where we will find our very first claim and our very first piece of evidence. So all throughout the essay, there's going to be claims and evidence. It is important that you know the difference between these two things because they seem like they're very similar, or you could use these words interchangeably, but you really can't. So a claim is the reason presented to prove a writer's argument. So it is just the reason why we need to do something about the bathroom situation. The evidence is the additional support given to strengthen the claim, right? So this is going to be where we're going to see quotes, we're going to see interviews, we're going to see statistics, facts, percentages, all of those things. So we're saying, here's my argument. We need to clean up the bathrooms because whatever, and here is why you should believe that claim. Here's that additional evidence to prove my point here. So if we think back to yesterday, to the students' work that I had referenced, talking to Dr. Mahmoud about elective classes. His argument was Dr. Mahmoud should implement more elective classes at Higher Ground Academy. He gave a couple of reasons, but if I was going to really tighten up his claim and evidence, this is what I would advise the student to do. So the reason, his very first reason, was it would create a better perception of the school. And what this student did was he kind of went on and just said generally, like, people don't view the school very nicely now because we don't have a lot of elective classes. But what would be a really great reason and evidence is it will create a better perception of the school. Okay, there's that reason. Then, if he went on to reference an interview that he had with some students of Higher Ground Academy or some alumni of Higher Ground Academy, where they said they didn't like the school because there was a lack of class choices. So he gives that reason that maybe there wasn't a great perception of the school in the past, and we could create one by making this change. And he supports that with actual quotes from actual students making this claim or reason, right? So that is essentially how this looks. All right, so the questions that you're going to be looking to answer, so maybe think about these while you're reading or take some notes. Oh, going back, if you wanted to take notes on this, these are also really good things to write down. But the questions you're ultimately going to be answering in your assessment today are based around the argument that you figured out yesterday. So if the argument is keep restrooms clean, what is the first claim that develops this argument? So what is that very first reason that Dakota gives in her first paragraph? And then what evidence does she go on to give to support this claim? All right, so think about those two things as I read the next two paragraphs here. All right, so we finished off there. All right, when people come into our school and they have to go, they will use the restroom next to the office. When they see the mess, I can only imagine what they must think about our school and us. Restrooms, especially the restroom beside the office, are representative of the school and the students in the school. Miss Johnson, the school secretary, said she's ashamed when people come to visit the school and ask to use the restroom. She said, if I have time, I take visitors to the kindergarten restroom because the 5-year-olds take better care than the older students. The kindergarten restroom shows a group of students who care about themselves and the school. Ooh, burn. Jana Ibahara, my neighbor and high school senior who went to Ellsworth 4 years ago, went into our 7th grade restroom the other day when she was visiting her old teachers. She told me that when she saw the mess, she thought, what happened to my old school? What's wrong with the kids here? She said when she was a student, the other students had respect for themselves, other people, and the school, so they took care of the restrooms. She said the restrooms were always well kept and that the kids had better manners than they seem to have today. It's embarrassing to think of the message our restrooms send visitors about the kinds of kids we are. All right, so that is where we will stop with reading the essay today, and we will move right along to your task. So today's task, just like yesterday, you are going back into the Wednesday folder and finding paragraphs 2 and 3, check for understanding. Today you are answering 2 questions, but you're going to have to probably write a little bit more because it's not just tell me the audience, one word. No, you're going to have to explain this first reason that Dakota gives. So what is the first reason for why we need to clean up the bathrooms? And then what evidence does she use to support the claim? I will give you a hint. The claim is just going to be one sentence, but the evidence, there's 2 obvious chunks of evidence that she gives. They're 2 different things. So make sure you're not just using the evidence from the first paragraph. Remember that evidence from the second paragraph too. She had 2 sources that she pulled evidence from. Again, make sure that you are using specific lines or phrases from the essay. So if you're going to tell me the claim, tell me where you found that. If you're going to tell me the evidence, tell me a line that really stuck out to you as the evidence supporting the claim. Okay, and then just like yesterday, the submission is due at 11:59 tonight because we're just going to keep moving with reading this essay. So tomorrow what I'll do is I will go over the answers for these questions, and then obviously since it's an essay, the author does give 2 additional reasons for why we should be cleaning up the bathrooms. And so I won't assess you on those because it's the same skill that we're doing today, finding the claim, finding the evidence. So I'll walk you through that tomorrow in the slides. So tomorrow's video will be a little bit longer. And then I will teach you about the concept of a counterclaim. All right, so look forward to that and make sure that you get your submission in by 11:59 tonight.